Wellbeing and Data Coordinator at Angeles Mesa Elementary School. It's my pleasure and honor to share with you how restorative justice is being implemented at Angeles Mesa Elementary School. I would like to take a few minutes of your time to share with you the process and impact restorative justice has had on our staff, students, and parents. Here's our story. Angeles Mesa was one of 6 schools selected by Central School Operations during the 2013-2014 school year to participate in restorative justice training. Prior to the training, staff knew nothing of the program and our expectations regarding it. The training lasted 3 days and it was intense and informative. One of the important takeaways from that training was that learning is difficult at times, and we experienced that as adults, and we also started to think about what our students experience. So that was a time for us to be very reflective and know that we should be more empathetic to our students. During the 3-day training, we deepened our understanding of the philosophy, principles, and practices of restorative justice. We learned how to effectively use restorative justice community building circle process to positively build community and enhance the school culture and climate. During the 2013-2014 school year, restorative justice was implemented with my 2nd grade students. During that time, one of the important tools that my students were introduced to were the talking piece. And they became very familiar with using the talking piece because that was a way by which they were able to know that when they had the talking piece, they had their voices to be heard. Now I can see some of the talking pieces that we had at that time. Community building circle time became the vehicle to build relationships and address issues and concerns that the students had. During the first year, 2013 and 2014, I went to a lot of trainings. When I returned to the school site, my students were very disturbed that I had been gone for such a long time. And the first thing that they requested was that we had story time and circle time to be able to share and to discuss some of the problems that they faced. And it was at that time that I saw how important restorative justice and circle time was for the students because it gave them a voice. During the current 2014-2015 school year, restorative justice and community building circle time has become an integral part of our school culture and expectations. Stakeholders participate in community building circles, and that includes staff, classroom support assistants, teachers, and students. We have had tremendous success with our staff since we have implemented restorative justice. The staff benefits from monthly community building circle time during meetings. The staff now interacts more positively with each other. The staff requested that we include community building circle time during our faculty meetings, and the staff has requested that we use restorative justice as a vehicle to build relationships, discuss issues, and concerns. And I think it's really important for you to understand the significance of this. Prior to us having restorative justice at our school went through a period where we had extreme difficulty. We had a very challenging year last year, and we went through a lot of changes, and it reached the point where the staff did not really connect with each other. And during the summer, we decided, as part of our planning process, our principal, Ms. Emily Williams, was very supportive and agreed that we should roll out restorative justice school-wide, and we had training during the summer. And as a result of that training during the summer, at the end of the week, staff who were very reluctant to participate became fully engaged and were so interested and so determined that we would continue the process that they requested that we have our restorative justice training every month. So now we currently have it the first Tuesday of every month. We have it as our restorative justice time, and we are able to continue the work that we started this summer. In terms of success with our students, the students benefit from weekly community building circle time sessions. Students now voluntarily visit the restorative justice room and request that issues be dealt with during that time. Students from kindergarten through 5th grade participate in circles, and students who had never spoken in class prior to circle time found their voice during circle time. When we initially rolled out the idea of going into classes, there are teachers who were a little bit reluctant and said, oh, well, my children might be too young, they might not be interested, how will this work? And I said, we'll only know by trying. And when I went to a kindergarten class, the amazing thing was that when I came into the class, the students said, oh, there's some people here who won't talk. They only talked in the yard, they would only talk with their friends, but not during classroom discussions. And just sitting in the circle, having the talking piece, people being able to share what was important to them, we saw students who were willing to speak in the classroom for the first time. That happened in kindergarten class, it happened in second grade class, and a fourth grade class. And all those teachers came back and shared that they were absolutely amazed that students who were really reluctant to speak out in class, they found their voice with that talking piece. So now teachers are now using that talking piece during other times during their classroom because it has become so powerful. By having restorative justice, we also have seen a decrease in office referrals, decrease in playground conflicts during recess and lunch because the students are now able to discuss some of the issues that they have. They know they can come to the restorative justice room and issues are resolved during that time. As opposed to prior to having restorative justice, what would happen is that the students would go back to the classroom and they would have issues and they wanted the teacher to deal with that, so there was so much time being spent on dealing with playground issues that instructional time was lost. And now we see that we have regained that instructional time. In terms of our parents, we have also seen success. They have expressed interest in participating in restorative justice community building circles, and they have been thankful that we have implemented RJ and that their children express enjoyment and interest in the circles. There have been parents who have come because we've had issues with their students, and so they've had time to participate in the circles, and our PTA has also had experience with it. The parents who have come because of their students having difficulty, when they've gone through the process, they have been so thankful that their students have had a chance to not only address those students who have been harmed, but also that their voice has been heard, so they see the entire process as very helpful. Our hopes for the future is that we can continue to display and live the philosophy of RJ, that we can include all of our stakeholders in the process, and that will include parents, support staff, and community, that our school can be a model of what can happen to a staff when RJ is embraced by all, that our students become more thoughtful, empathetic, and respectful to all people, and that they embrace the restorative justice practices that we will see reflected in their behavior and their choices. In conclusion, I would like to thank Dr. Perkins, and thank Deborah Brandy for offering me the opportunity to come and share some of the success that we've had at our school, because it is absolutely wonderful that the success that I felt during the training, that I have also seen that reflected with the staff, and we also see it also with the children. So thank you for allowing me to share our story.
Thank you very much.
We are really, isn't that exciting? We are so excited. And thank you, Dr. Perkins, for that vision of selecting those schools last year and allowing us to go through the training, because it was important for us to think through some things, because now we're talking about rolling this out in our entire district. And so we're going to do this. So in closing, I have two things for you. This book I love, How Full Is Your Bucket? I have a bucket for each one of you. Thank you. And as we go through this, I'm going to put this in your bucket today, restorative justice practices. And when I thought about this, Ms. King and Ms. Garcia, as a former administrator in this district, I said, what are we really asking our teachers to do? We're asking them to join all of the outstanding teachers that we have encountered that has made a difference in our lives. So when you receive your bucket today, I want you to take a Post-it and I want you to write the name of a teacher that made a difference in your life. The one that took the time to ask you every day if you were okay. The one that took the time to tutor you when you did not get something in class. They didn't yell at you, they worked with you. So they didn't have restorative justice back then, but it was a form of restorative justice. And that is what we're bringing to our district. So please make sure that you fill your bucket on a daily basis with restorative justice.
That's excellent. Thank you. What an invitation.
And the last thing, each one of you will receive a card. This is your talking piece. And Ms. Garcia, when you use this talking piece, I know you're going to talk about that highway that we're on. So I want you to use this as your talking piece. So I'm going to pass this around. There are 50 cards in here. So select the one that you would like. And as you go out to talk about this highway that LAUSD is on, please use that as your talking piece. Thank you.
Thank you so much, but let's get the rules right. So I can only talk when I'm holding my...
Well, you may make an exception.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the question of how full is our bucket? Because you know what I love hearing about our speaker is she didn't talk about how you have to help the kids be different. She talked about all the adults coming together, wanting to be able to present a different self to the kids. And so I have to ask you for questions because I know our committee will have questions. Help me understand the 25 schools. Are those based on the highest need, or how do we determine who comes first?
It was based on this.
Well, I'm just going to describe how we selected the 25 demonstration sites. So you'll recall that when we went through the local control funding formula process and the LCAP, we had what we call the needs assessment, and we ranked our schools of greatest need, and we remember invested in those schools, and it was determined by an unduplicated count of foster youth, English learners, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged. So we looked at that list first, and then we laid that next to the schools that were experiencing some difficulties with disproportionately suspending youth, because you recall that was our focus, to really be able to address and deal with that. So it was from the coupling of both of those that we arrived at the top 25 schools. That became our demonstration sites that we wanted to invest in to ensure that they were able to receive the support to implement restorative justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I do want to just call out again the impact